Good day, everybody. This is Dana Massat with the Mindful Mama and a Sun Your Soul. And today we continue our Mindful Soul series. And today I have Christina Dwyer with us. She's an acupuncturist, amazing. She's actually my acupuncturist. Grateful for that. She specializes in women's health, pain management, digestive issues, weight management, fertility challenges. She has a passion for treating women's health and fertility and pregnancy with more of a natural Chinese medicine, Eastern medicine approach. She's actively engaged in continuing her education to specialize in these areas. She believes that with a foundation of Chinese medicine, addressing your diet, lifestyle, exercise, and emotional well-being are the key components to living your optimal health and balance.
Cool.
Welcome, Christina. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So something that drew me to you, I was getting off birth control. I know your focus is kind of like fertility and women's health, and I knew you were the right person for me. And I also knew I was supposed to get connected to you because I have a lot of women that come to me with fertility issues. And I know, yes, part of what I do is going to help them, but I know internal like medicine, Chinese medicine, I'm pro for that. What drew you to Chinese medicine?
So I think from a younger age, I was always more into the natural, more holistic routes. I never really was a big like drug pusher. I did always want to go into medicine. However, and I was in college and on the pre-med route, I did want to go into medical school, but I had a big change in heart because I never wanted to be that doctor that kind of just pushed medications on patients. I want to give people natural options first. I then experienced some issues, like health issues, when I was going through my last 2 years of college, mental and physical health stuff. I ended up going into acupuncture to have some sessions for myself. And then it kind of opened my eyes to an entire whole new system of medicine. It definitely was not just like a stress reliever, pain reliever. There was so much more to it. And that's when I changed gears and decided to go into Chinese medicine school. So that's what drew me.
That's amazing. So you were kind of on the pre-med path, and because your own health journey, you completely kind of like flipped the script.
Yes, exactly.
Thank goodness. Like, I'm so grateful that happened.
Meant to be
for sure.
Yeah.
So, okay, to take it to the next level, why did women's health and fertility become like one of your main passions? What led you into that? Because some people pick their passion and some people kind of fall into it.
Right. I had always, like, when I had wanted to go into medicine, I had always been drawn towards women's health. I actually had wanted to become an OBGYN at some point, or some type of reproductive health doctor. I love treating all kinds of cases in my practice, but there's like a near and dear place in my heart for treating fertility patients and helping women conceive, because I feel like when you can play a part in helping a woman create life, that's just one of the most rewarding experiences, especially if they've been struggling and you see them get pregnant with hopefully like your help, Chinese medicine, other things that we do, and then you see them through their journey. And then the most rewarding feeling is when moms will bring their babies in and surprise visit me with them after they've given birth at some point, when they're a few months old, and we call them acu-babies.
Yes.
I get goosebumps when I talk about this because it's such a like fulfilling experience to see women go through that. So that's kind of what has drawn me more to the fertility side of things. And then just in general, like women's health, I feel like more women in this day and age need a lot more support because we have a lot more weighing on us as far as like mental and physical health. So
absolutely. And I saw your wall. I see you post like the acu-babies, and I get so excited too. And you have the full wall with all the pictures, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, we call that like our baby board or blessing board. That's only a handful of, how many babies have come out of EVA. And it's just a nice reminder because it not only is a good reminder for my passion and what we do, but then for patients that come in that have been struggling, it's hopeful and gives them, faith in what we're doing too. So
absolutely. So with women coming to you with so-called, just to label it, fertility issues,
Mhm.
I'm assuming that every woman coming in is kind of like unique and different, and possibly the underlying cause is different. What are some of like the remedies you're using, or what are these underlying causes?
Good question. I think that there can be a multitude of issues, but from my perspective, the top few that I'd want to point out is I think that stress in this day and age is a major factor that goes, it doesn't get enough credit, not good credit, obviously,
Yeah.
but it has a huge influence on hormonal health and also blood flow in the body. Um, Nutrition is huge. The way that we eat and our processing of foods has changed over the decades. There's a lot more, I like to say, just junk in like what we would think are healthy foods now. And that has a huge influence on our hormones and our health, how our bodies function. And then I think another big one is the overuse of a lot of like you said, you were on birth control for a while. So I think
Yeah.
the overuse of a lot of hormonal birth controls over time, you know, we kind of just get thrown this by conventional medicine, which is okay. There's sometimes places that it's totally necessary, but there are a lot of other things that can be used before going that route. And over time, that tends to shut down the body's natural functioning. So in order to like just go off birth control or other hormonal influences and expect your body to just bounce back, it doesn't function as easily as you think it would. So we might need
Yeah.
to like give it a little push with acupuncture, Chinese medicine, proper diet, nutrition, other things. Um, so, that also causes a lot of nutrient deficiencies over time. So a lot of women don't realize, birth control and hormonal control you can lack the amount of nutrients that you need to conceive too. So,
Yeah. I was super young when I started trying to have a baby. It's kind of crazy. I was like 21 and I got off birth control. I think I was on birth control since like 15. So a long span, got off birth control, just assumed like, oh, this is going to happen easy. I'm 21. It took a year. So I'm
wow.
21. It took a year for my body to just like detox and get ready. So I also, with women like in their 20s and their 30s, your body to just detox from your birth control, that could take
Right.
time and to kind of
That's what
like prep.
I express to women too, is that they think that, it's okay if it's going to take a year or so for your body to bounce back and to get it back on track. Because a lot of women have the expectation, they see everyone getting pregnant right away. They just think, it's going to happen right when they go off the pill the next month. It doesn't always happen that way. We need to kind of like retrain how the body works sometimes. So, and that
Yeah.
can take time. You got to give yourself time.
Yeah. Be patient. Don't judge the process.
Right.
I think you said something about like alternatives to birth control.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, do you have something to advice for women on that journey that don't want to be on birth control? Like, I know there's like an IUD. Are there other things you're thinking of to like recommend, or?
It's hard to say. Honestly, condoms are one, but not everyone likes using them. I'm not a fan of any IUDs, even the copper ones, because of the copper toxicity levels in the body that can be shown from that.
Yeah.
Another one is tracking your cycle. When your cycle does get on track, as far as your 28 days there, however many days a woman's cycle is, tracking your cycle and paying attention to different changes in your body to know when you have that fertile window to be more careful. That can be really effective if you learn about your body more. So those are just some options.
I was so young when I got on birth control, so I wasn't thinking about the toxins and the effects that it would have on me. And luckily, I haven't noticed it to the degree that other people have noticed it. But when I did get on an IUD, that was after my kids. I probably in my late 20s. And that's when I got full blown candida, like bad candida. I had to get it taken out, like horrible. It took me years to heal it. So I'm not for the IUDs either. And I'm glad you spoke about that, because I don't think people are talking about that. People just think I'm putting this thing in my body. I'm going to be good for 5 to 10 years or whatever they say.
Right. And then we don't really know what, the repercussions of that is 5 to 10 years from now. We kind of just think the quick fix in this. That's kind of the culture we live in. We want the quick fix. And that isn't always the best thing for our bodies moving forward. So.
Absolutely. When women are coming to you, and I want to ask about other clients that you're getting to, like with anxiety, depression, but when women are coming to you with fertility challenges. And I'm assuming that they're like, well, how long is this going to take? Like, how long is this process with you going to take? How do you coach them through it? You know?
Right. Very good question. So I always like to tell women and be honest that this is going to take a series of cycles. It may or may not happen right away. I can't give unrealistic expectations. And we usually recommend, 3 to 6 months of treatments until we look into other options. And then they may need to go see, I'll then refer out and be like, go to your OB, go to your reproductive doctor and see if we can get some blood work done. And then we can see if we can rule out some other issues, because that actually can help me treat women better if we do have more Western diagnosis on that side. But it's hard to tell. Everyone responds very differently. It depends on how many years they've been trying. What are the underlying issues? Are there gynecological issues? Are they in the realm of what we call of unexplained infertility? But for the most cases, I would say that we do have success. It may just take a longer amount of time. Women just give themselves time, and consistency with acupuncture is fantastic because it's not a one-time thing, but then also consistency with the things that I recommend people do outside, like cleaning up your diet, proper exercise. Another huge one is mindset and meditation. I think that goes, that doesn't get enough credit because the mind-body connection and keeping a positive mindset is super helpful going through this, because otherwise your stress hormones go up. So those
absolutely. And my end of it is like, I'll have women, and there is, once we kind of dive into the belief systems, there's beliefs that they're not good enough to be a mom, or I'm not going to be able to do it. And then like looking at other people, and it's like, well, they have it. And then it's like the jealousy comes up. So it is that positive mindset and kind of being mindful of what thoughts and beliefs are coming up, and really trying to reprogram them. You are good enough. You are worthy. What percentage, if you can kind of narrow it down, women that have been to the medical model and they say, you can't have kids, then they come to you. What percentage of people like that are you getting and like helping?
I would say that we get a decent amount of probably like over 40 to 50% that are told that they may or may not be able to have kids based on what's going on with them. Then for the most part, we've had success getting them pregnant, which is really rewarding. I mean, I've had some women who were younger, healthy, what we would call unexplained, or their doctors may call unexplained issues, that were about to go the IVF route, and that's completely fine. But then they ended up, and they hadn't had a period for maybe like almost a year. They were having some issues there, and then they ended up being pregnant like the month before they are about to start their cycles, their medication cycles. So I always like to tell people those stories because they've lost so much hope in one system, and I'm like, we have other options. We just got to be a little patient and work with it. So
and with alternative health and Chinese medicine, usually those are the types of clients that you are getting are the ones that have been like rejected by the medical model or haven't found success there. Okay, depression and anxiety, I feel, is on the rise, especially with COVID, especially with teens. How do you work with that? Like, do you have different protocols? Do you advise the cupping, the acupuncture, and do you work with supplements with depression and anxiety?
Yeah. So after I do an initial intake on patients, I'm with a patient for their first visit for almost a little over an hour and a half. So I get to know them really well and what's going on from a mental health perspective and anything else that might be going on. That helps me come to a better understanding of how I can treat them, as far as what type of acupuncture protocols, the frequency of treatment that will be helpful. Are they already doing things that help with their mindset? Are they doing things? One thing I recommend to a lot of my mental health patients is a gratitude journal. And it sounds so simple, but I tell them, I want you to get a journal, and I want you, write this. I'll write it on my prescription pad, like gratitude journal, and then bring it into me next week. But you don't have to show me what's in it, but I just want to hold you accountable to do these things for yourself. So, those are some options: acupuncture, and then gratitude journaling. And then obviously I'll recommend I'll work with, different therapists and whoever may be a good fit if they're open to that. If they're not open to that, I'm like, okay, we don't have to go that route yet. Let's see how you feel with just this. And, as we go along, if we want to add therapy to it, then we can network with a therapist for you. But yeah, I'm seeing more and more of that in younger generations, which is really sad and unfortunate.
Yes.
So
yeah. You need to have a gratitude journal at your office, like for sale. Like you have the candles and you have the clothes. You do, because if it's there,
really
they're like,
idea.
I'm going to buy it. I'm going to start doing it. You need to
awesome.
do it.
Thank you. That is really, I'm always into like creating new things. So that's an awesome idea. Thank you.
And then as you were talking, like Source gives me like visions. And as you were talking and we were talking about the teens, I saw you doing some marketing for teens and anxiety and depression with the acupuncture because it's needed.
Okay.
It's needed.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, these kids are like lost. Some of them are doing therapy. Some of them are taking pills. It's like the parents don't know what to do. So the more information we can give the parents and options, they're ready.
Yeah. And I mean, I've always worked with teens and adolescents, and I don't think a lot of people understand and know that we even treat teens and adolescents. And I'm unfortunately seeing more and more on the rise coming in for mental health issues. And it like hurts my heart when they're already on medications at a young age.
Yes.
Because that just it's not something I like to see them on long term, and it's very hard to get off of. So if we can catch things before they get to that point, then, there's better options for them in the future.
Absolutely. Okay, talking about wholeness. So like diet, lifestyle, exercise, emotional well-being. Diving into these things can be touchy topics for people. So like clients that come to you. So when you have to address, say, the nutritional part, how do you address it? Like, what's your advice? Do you have a cookbook? Do you have different like links you share with them of nutrition?
So if you have already checked out, a little more about me. I'm a huge foodie. So I love to talk to my patients about food. Like I love to cook. I love to talk to my patients about food. So talking about diet isn't too hard for me.
Awesome.
But no, I'll basically ask, like, first off, just basic questions, like, how do you describe your diet? And most people say like, oh, I eat well. And then I'll be like, okay, but you need to be a little more specific with me. Like, what is eating well to you? Do you, are you on a certain type of diet? Do you avoid certain things? How often do you eat out? Have you ever done a food journal to see what you're sensitive to? I'll go through lists of questions like that. And then I'll give my advice based on what we call Eastern nutritional counseling, because what our society is rooted in is just like the food pyramid. The Chinese medicine is rooted in more, we come up with a pattern for a patient, and based on the pattern is how we recommend different foods that can help their condition. So it's not a one size fits all. Like one person I may recommend, you need to cut out spicy foods. One person I may recommend spicy foods would be great for you. So that's kind of how I go about addressing that. And then I will sometimes have people do a food journal, because then it holds them accountable, and then I can see what they're eating, and then I can maybe see what's setting off their condition even more. So
that's amazing. That's good. I love the idea of the food journal. And yes, I love looking at your Instagram and all the foods you make. I'm like, oh, it looks so good.
Yeah, that's like therapy for me. Cooking is therapy. And I like to cook for people. That's how I like give myself to people as far as that's like me showing love. I'm Italian, so.
Yes. Totally. I'm always surprised when I meet an Italian that says they don't cook. I'm like, no, that can't be a thing. Like, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a mom, you have your own business, EVA. How do you keep the work-life mom balance, even self-care? How do you keep it all together?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I feel like I don't, but I guess maybe I do. I don't know. So no, I try my best, but I feel like I accept that it's always going to be a struggle. And that's okay. Like that's not something that should be looked down upon. That's okay. That it can be a struggle. It can be challenging at times. I've realized that I've gotten to points where I'm always, with the work I do and in my personal life as well and family life, I'm the type of person that I'm a giver. I give my energy out to people, and that shows in my work. So that can be draining. So in the past, that's definitely led me to burnout. And I've learned from that, which is a good thing. But prioritizing myself is, first thing. I realized that I need to put myself first before anyone else, because if my health, mental and physical health doesn't come first, I can't take care of my family and I can't take care of my patients. I want to give everyone my best. So I got to recharge myself first. So a few things that are my go-tos has always been exercise. That's kind of how I clear my mind. Meditation is big, breath work, trying to eat as clean as possible. In moderation, I, cheat here and there because we all got a little bit, of course. But yeah, I think like the term like being busy, like mom, work-life balance, and like always go is over glorified in our society. So I try to remind myself that that's not always a good thing to be, and taking time to like disconnect, even if I'm, as I've gotten older, I've disconnected from situations, people, and other things. And I've learned to not that I don't care, but I'm like, I shouldn't care as much because this is more taking care of myself first. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Like releasing the mom guilt and understanding that taking care of yourself, then it gives to the family and it gives to your business. And it is
right. Yeah.
when you
yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, even such a small example, some of my patients will they'll be like, I'm giving to everybody. I'm like, okay, you need to stop, put yourself first. And my example is that, so I used to get up every morning and I would make like breakfast for my son, breakfast for my household, everybody first. And then I'd be like sitting there with like cold coffee that I'm warming up like 5 times in the microwave. So from now on, I always get up and I make my coffee first. I have my breakfast first. I sit down and then I make everybody's stuff, because I got to get myself ready first before I take care of anybody else. And that's such a small example, but that's just putting yourself first in like little ways that can lead to bigger ways, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. And I talk to people about equal exchange relationships. So people, again, self-sacrificing, over-giving, over-responsibility is glorified in the American culture. And it's like that martyr syndrome. Everybody has martyr syndrome. I overgive, I get taken advantage of. And it's like, well, you have a fault in that. Like you're dishonoring yourself. Right, by overgiving. If that person isn't meeting you halfway most of the time, you have no business giving to them,
Right.
unless it's charity and volunteering. But if this is a friendship or a relationship, that shouldn't exist.
Right. Exactly. I agree.
Talk about EVA, talk about your business. When did you first open and step into this?
So I've been in practice for, it'll be 9 years this year, which seems like it went by really fast. And I feel like sometimes it's a constant learning process, because I'm always trying to like be innovative and spread this awareness of Chinese medicine to more people. So I opened about 9 years ago. I didn't really have, I won't lie, it's been a struggle to own a business, and a good struggle though, because I've learned a lot. It's made me a stronger person, and it's made me resilient, that's for sure, because there were so many times in the beginning when I thought I was going to just fail, and I'm like, I'm going to give up. I'm going to go back to school for something else. Like, forget this. But then, I did a lot of self-work in the first few years to kind of be determined to not be a statistic part of, people that didn't make it in business. So,
yeah.
And then I just think my passion behind what I do has a lot to do with it. Like when I see the benefits of what I do, that keeps me going. When people appreciate what we do, they see acupuncture works, or if I can like convince people that have been skeptical of it, and then they're hooked, that this is their main source of medicine moving forward. That's rewarding and has kept me going from a business perspective. Because I feel like I wear a lot of hats. I've noticed that like when I went into business, I didn't have to just be an acupuncturist. I'm the like manager of the company. I'm the marketing person. I'm, the administration, like I'm the accounting. Like I don't always like to do all those things, to be honest with you. Like I love to be in rooms with patients. But I do love connecting with people. So like networking, and I love doing that now. But it's a learning process, which is good, because I think that I'm the type of person that's never satisfied. So that can be a blessing and a curse. But from, a business perspective with my practice, I think it's a good thing, because I'm always wanting to expand and to mainstream what I do more to people. Because I think that the more I do that, the more I put my passion into this, into my business, the more it's going to help the human collective to become, healthier in general. So
Absolutely. You're driven. You're driven. So like, not even like what you said, like, I'm never satisfied. You're driven. So once you achieve something, you're like, okay, I have more space to create. Like, let me
Right.
create something else. I love it. I'm the same way. What about your spiritual journey? When did you kind of start opening up to that spiritual side of yourself?
Good question. I think that, I want to say maybe 5-6 years ago, I never really even considered myself like a spiritual, quote unquote, person. I didn't even really know what that meant. I think a lot of people have different definitions for spirituality, like they will attach it to religion or other things. For me, that's not exactly what it is. I myself feel like it's like complicated, but I went through some very low, dark, I'd like to say dark times. And I think that a lot of people that get onto the spiritual path go through something like that in order to find that side of them. I think that pushed me into like a higher level of consciousness and a different level of self-awareness. It made me gain more confidence in my own intuition, and then also helped me find what I want to say, like more faith in a higher power that I probably wasn't paying as much attention to before. A lot of this came through doing more meditation, and a lot of that was guided at first and then some not guided, but I've kind of learned more about myself through doing that, and that I feel like has brought me closer to what I would call spirituality. So
I love it. I love it. What you're talking about, that darkness in the spiritual community, they call it dark night of the soul.
dark night of the soul, yes.
And it's so funny because
Yeah.
yes, everybody I've been interviewing and everybody I'm interviewing, different professions, different walks of life, everyone has mentioned how they've had one. And I just
really?
love,
Okay.
yes, I love like hearing the story.
Yeah.
Okay, you're always working on a new project. Like we said, you're super driven. What's on the horizon for EVA?
Well, like I said, I'm never satisfied, so I'm always thinking of new things. But if you saw that we just launched our apparel line, and we also have our own meditation candles and some crystal like handmade jewelry. A lot of that, I'm always thinking of new ways to bring the brand out to people and remind people of acupuncture, but then also at the same time giving back. And most of the profits to that actually go to a domestic violence survivor organization called Wings in Chicagoland. So I'm always trying to think of ways that we can mainstream Eastern medicine, but then also give back at the same time. So that's one thing that we've been doing. Another thing that I am constantly working on is expanding my team, because I'm a people person. I like to work around people, and I also want a bigger team so that when I have more people working at EVA, we can also give this medicine to more people and we can mainstream it more. So that's kind of my goal, to restore people's faith in their own body's healing through, expanding my practice and, going from there. So
I love that. I love that. I got the meditation candle from you. I brought it to my psychotherapy office. I love it so much. And the clothes are so cute. The jewelry, I can't wait to like go and pick out a piece. It's looking so good. The office is feeling so good, looking so good. And tell people where you're located.
So we're in Park Ridge, on like what they would call the South Park area, Park Ridge near Devon and Talcott. So not too far out, like right outside of Chicagoland, northwest side.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for being with me today. It was so much fun, and I can't wait till I see you in person soon.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.